Hard times lead to tough men, and tough men lead to easy times. Easy times lead to weak men, and weak men lead back to tough times. We need to draw attention to the problems that boys and men confront. Our boys and men are falling behind in a world that is constantly becoming more globalised. Our lads and men are becoming radicalised by a simple Google search. You may get answers to questions like, why don't women want me? And how can I make girls like me? On Google. Explains the radicalization pipeline to men and young boys, showing how men's self-help groups may lead to acts of terrorism. Insecurity among men rapidly turns into hatred and violence. After producing search results for the problems with today's women, which are actually anti-feminist propaganda, the radicalization marketing funnel moves on to produce even more extreme results like anti-woke leftists hate you and you must fight against them. Gender is binary. God only created man and woman, or masculine men are dominant. The effectiveness of the white supremacist marketing funnel is what should concern us the most. We have technological advancements like smartphones, which are essentially computers in our hands. Yet all we do with them is scroll through pointless quick videos. Even bed mattresses have grown so comfy that the Tempur-Pedic brand was created. Modern generations are totally enamored with technology, all set to pick up whatever new artificial intelligence is created. Why don't we all pause for a moment and take in some human traits from the generations that came before us before they go forever? Adaptability, devotion, loyalty, and tenacity. Today's culture could use more resilience, but previous generations went overboard and to the extreme with it. The elders have a lot to learn from us, and we have a lot to learn from them. What does being a man entail? Do you know how to respond to that inquiry? Does the thought of not having an answer to that question worry you? The difficulty is that men are unable to identify their role in a society that is changing. The notion of masculinity is changing. Mixed signals are becoming the norm, and this is affecting the guys who are touched by it, which has the potential to hurt everyone else. Nobody ever questioned what it meant to be a guy before the last 100 years or so. There were differences between men and women, and that was simply the case. According to John McInnes, a British sociologist, masculinity has always been in one crisis or another. The catastrophe itself was not the idea of a single person. However, a number of hypotheses have been put forth by many sociologists and philosophers who have examined the crisis in male identity and its effects on contemporary society. According to some analysis, the contemporary crisis in masculinity began during World War I. Many women were filling the roles typically filled by men during the war while the men were away fighting. When men started to return to women who had entered the workforce and were making their own income, post-war masculinity values were already changing. Many males are unsure about how they fit in when the social roles of women change. Right now, each man must decide for himself what it means to be a man. We'll provide you with some materials and tools in this section so you can decide for yourself. Some people make light of the crisis in masculinity by making jokes about it. Women are making progress in terms of freedom, power, and opportunities today. Although this is wonderful, it is also changing historical perceptions of what it means to be a man. Many men no longer need to chop firewood and tend gardens as a result of urban growth. Screen time has displaced hunting, and YouTube is gradually taking the place of the front porch. Although there are numerous advantages to this cultural shift, men may be a little perplexed. The crisis of masculinity is merely society adjusting to a shifting culture, which takes time. Of course, the problem is not that males are whining about how women now have more rights, power, and opportunities. It is not the masculinity crisis. The issue is that for a very long time, masculinity implied a particular view of femininity. Many guys are unsure about how to view themselves in light of the evolving definition of what it means to be a woman. A significant identity problem is the crisis of masculinity. Depending on who you ask, there are several interpretations of the crisis of masculinity. For whatever reason, older men frequently see the crisis of masculinity as an assault on their principles. Young adult men are now disproportionately affected by the situation. Researchers have even claimed that the masculinity issue is mostly caused by young men's escalating drug use and violent crime rates. For instance, Wai-Joe Wong, PhD, a professor at Indiana University Bloomington, discovered that males who exhibited conventional masculine norms, specifically a patriarchal family hierarchy, self-reliance, and playboy behavior, were noticeably more likely to experience mental health issues. It's not their fault. For hundreds of years, society has maintained and compelled males to adhere to these stereotypical masculine stereotypes. Today's culture is changing, and as a result, men who hold traditional male beliefs are being disregarded. These males have increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression as a result. This is an issue because in order to develop and put into practice lasting solutions in society's quest for equality, we must take into account every group of people, including males, who haven't experienced sexism in the past. Traditional masculinity and toxic masculinity are frequently confused. Many individuals falsely believe that there is a crisis in masculinity. That's not quite accurate. Masculinity will be a component of gender as a social construct, as long as it does. It would be risky to reduce the issue to masculinity itself. The issue is that as a society has changed, masculinity has had a hard time adapting. The issue of masculinity will continue to hold both men and women back until it does. How then do we fix it? One method is for each guy to decide for himself what being a man entails. In other words, what it means to them, not what they believe it ought to mean to them or what they believe it ought to mean to others. This will aid in the definition of a new masculinity that offers us a blueprint for life, while also equipping us with the skills necessary to live that life healthily and without interfering with how other people live theirs. Start by focusing on all the good traits of traditional masculinity, such as strength, independence, and responsibility. We may maintain these while letting go of all the detrimental characteristics, such as suppressing our emotions, acting violently, and the need to be on top. Even some of the issues of traditional masculinity may be improved with the use of this strategy. How much sense does it make, for instance, that being self-sufficient is considered manly, but being able to cook, sew, have a tidy home, and do your laundry is not? Now that's an important question to be asked. What do you hope to achieve in life? Do you desire a simple, comfortable existence where dopamine is released frequently throughout the day and it simply generally feels good? That is kind of nice. That is all up to you, and it is extremely doable in 2023. Or do you want more from life? If so, it will need a degree of overcompensation that has never been seen in order to get through all the many realities we just discussed. The most crucial thing is for males to set up structural boundaries for themselves. Removing the daily dopamine-sucking activities is the initial step in the process. Every man's different, but the primary ones often involve watching online porn, playing video games, having lazy days where you're allowed to do nothing, using drugs and alcohol, and binge-watching a lot of Netflix. Everything is good in moderation, but if you feel like you have to do any of these things virtually every day, you need to stop. If we don't stop doing these things, it won't matter how much we want to change or how determined and disciplined we are. The truth is that we live a pleasant, simple, comfortable existence and that we give ourselves little treats throughout the day. We won't be able to follow through on anything because of self-sabotage. We won't ever continue to behave because we are rewarding ourselves. Are you prepared to defy the odds, shatter mediocrity, and awaken the true force within you? The pursuit of greatness beckons and your destiny awaits. Don't miss out on the revelations and strategies that lie ahead. Join us in our next exploration of personal transformation. Take action now and be part of the revolution. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like these.